Well, I just wonder, this holiday season, as you said, Steven, they do have more exclusive games on Xbox One than PlayStation 4. I'm not sure, even the Xbox lineup is not as great as it could be, as you mentioned. Halo would be amazing if that was coming out this year. Is there anything, Steven, that you're seeing that Microsoft's doing that could potentially pull them ahead of Sony in the sales later this year?
No, it's too early. I think for anybody to have a reversal of fortune like that. We didn't see a reversal in the previous generation, as hot as the Wii was, until the Kinect got enough traction that Microsoft got longer legs. Also, I think gamers just stuck with the Xbox 360 longer and were ready to bail out on the other systems, at least in certain regions. But the Halo compilation, which doesn't really mean much for me because I don't get that excited about replaying a game I've already played in HD, but from what I hear, it's very high ranking in Amazon, one of the hottest games for pre-order already, huge, and people are excited about that. Halo doesn't get as much buzz as it used to because people are focusing on Call of Duty or Battlefield or whatever the hot new shooter franchise is, but that may be a thing that helps entrench that Microsoft hardcore. Maybe there's been people waiting to move from the 360 to the Xbox One, and that might be the thing that brings more of that sort of hardcore tribe of Xbox fans up.
But I think you should be, it was sort of odd the way that Microsoft ended their press conference where they said, Phil Spencer said, oh, and this is the new Xbox. And it's like, well, the new Xbox was last year, but we understand what you mean. You've had a rough year.
We get it.
It was new for him.
Wink.
And you look at that, and if you remember the last generation, it took Sony a long, long time to address their deep systemic issues with the PlayStation 3. That was several years before they started turning the ship. And if you want to look at it optimistically, Microsoft's kind of done that in less than 12 months. They've addressed a lot of the big issues. I think they've lost a little bit of their identity in the process, but in terms of sort of achieving parity with Sony, they've done that very, very quickly. And I think that's really encouraging for everyone because that means there's going to be more competition, and I think gamers are going to benefit from that.
Well, the difference, though, between this generation and last generation is that there are now going to be TVs that you don't need a console to, attached to play a lot of video games on. So it's not just Sony that they're directly in competition with, and it's not just one console that they're directly in competition with. Xbox One now has to steal mindshare away from iPad, has to steal mindshare away from PlayStation Now. It's
Amazon Fire TV,
even the PlayStation TV. Xbox has a lot of work cut out for it. And what I think the best way that they can change things is spending a lot of money. All that money that they are now not spending on Kinect, they should be buying up developers and investing in development and surprising us with all kinds of exclusive games.
Do you think Kinect is effectively dead at this point?
I do.
Dead is overstatement, I think, in that they're still making some games for it. I think they'd still like people to have some level of interest in it, and they'd be happy to sell it as a peripheral. But maybe dying, flailing, I think is perhaps the right word for it. I was talking to Phil Spencer, and he was talking about some of the stuff they're doing in the June update, where they're going to allow developers to deactivate the gesture control. It'll give a little bit more horsepower to the console. Some developers have talked about how that's going to make the games look better. I don't think there's going to be a miraculous power boost, but I think you were talking about how Microsoft has lost some of their identity by making these changes, and I am looking forward to a year or two from now when Microsoft can establish again a little more of its uniqueness with the box. Once they're not doing it from a defensive posture, I would like snapping to turn out to be a useful thing that enhances.
They're putting Threes is going to be able to snap, where you'll be able to play that while you're doing TV. And I don't know how much they'll use that, but at least it's an inventive use of something that's very unique to their console, and that's stuff that doesn't happen overnight. That's going to happen over the next 1 or 2 years. But obviously, people like ourselves are impatient about that stuff. But it does take time.
Yes.
Well, you're going to need a Kinect to do that, though. And now they're selling the machines without the Kinect. I guess you can do it through the voice chat and the headset.
I use mine every day. I love getting around the system. Partially it's because the interface is kind of garbage with the controller. But I use it for TV. The voice commands are great. I hope they double down on that stuff. We'll still see it in the interface, but in terms of number of games, I mean, if you're a Harmonix or someone, you can't be feeling great about really doubling down on software development, especially from what I understand, they didn't inform partners before they even announced that the Kinect was being dropped. And I think that's very telling of how that decision was made, was that they decided very quickly we need to do this, even though we're not informing necessarily Harmonix and people that might want to have known that ahead of time. I think that's indicative of how quickly maybe they're making changes on you know, on a corporate level, that doesn't happen usually that fast.
Yeah, but it was a change that, you know, was sort of needed, and, you know, gamers have been asking Phil Spencer for it for a while, and it seems like Phil has become sort of the people's champion now inside of Xbox.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's the right guy for the position, and I think he's the popular. I think the biz would have voted him in. You know, we would have all said, yeah, let's put him at the top dog there.
Yeah, he's a longtime gaming guy. You know, when I talk to him, he's referencing the code name for the first Crackdown. Car or something, and now I'm forgetting. Car Wars, maybe? I don't remember what it was, something like that. But he's been around there forever. He's been around the Xbox business forever. Going back to Kinect for a second, I just want to mention one game for those who have Kinect. Look for a game called Fru, F-R-U.
Yeah,
uses Kinect in really interesting ways. But yeah, Phil Spencer, he talks the talk in a good way. He's got that right combination of clearly having business savvy, but loving games and wanting games to be primary on the platform, which is what we want, I think.
All right, so Microsoft's press conference overall, what grade would you give them?
I'd give them 7.5.
7.5,
yeah.
all right.
Is that the scale we're using? I'm going to switch scales. I'm going to mix it up.
We usually give letters.
Oh, letters.
Right. But you're used to the numbers, I know.
What would that be? B minus?
B minus, okay, fair enough.
Wait, I can't give them a yes? That's what we do at Kotaku. Yes, no, or not yet.
Not yet, not yet.
Was it a press conference? Yes.
Yes, it was a press conference. Jack Trenton gave it an A, and I can't argue with Jack, so A. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was a solid B. I think like there's reason to be optimistic about the platform. I think they've hemorrhaged, you know, sort of the parts that were bleeding, and really excited to see, you know, what comes next.
All right, well, when we come back, we're going to talk about Sony and what they did for the PlayStation 4 at E3.